You began with Sheffield United. What was your time at the Bramall Lane like?
Loved it. Best time of my career by a mile. I first went there when I was 12 years old. I think I was 21 when I left. And the day I left Sheffield United, nothing was ever the same ever again. And I never found another club that I enjoyed my time like I did there again. So if I could turn back the clock, I'd never have left.
Definitely. And you did have a spell in the Premier League with Birmingham City. What was that like, getting to the pinnacle of your footballing career and playing in the Premier League?
Yeah, obviously it was a good achievement, but by that time I've kind of already lost my way a little bit and lost any sort of love for the game. So, from the outside looking in, it looks like it was, probably the pinnacle of my career. But for me, my career was falling apart around me. So I don't really look at them times as the best part of my career, because by that point, I'd already fallen out of love with it.
And of course you played for England under-21s a number of times. What was that like, representing your country as well?
Yeah, fantastic. The best thing about representing my country is something that I can't remember much to do with the games or anything like that, or who we played against. But the one thing that sticks out of my mind more than anything is stood there listening to the national anthem.
Yeah.
That made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and that's the one thing that I remember more about them times than anything else. I can't really remember the games or who we played against, but I remember the national anthem, and even now thinking about it, still makes me excited.
No, definitely. And of course, you said your best time of your career was at Sheffield United, and even at Birmingham City it started to fall about around you. But you carried on playing football until 2012. But then you did go into boxing. What was it about boxing that made you want to make that transition from professional football to boxing?
I knew once I retired from football, I needed to find something else that I was passionate about, that I wasn't doing just because of money, because towards the end of my football career, that's all I was playing for was for money. And the passion, the love for the game was completely gone, so I needed to find something that I was passionate about. The only other thing that I loved for was boxing, so I started to go to the local gyms, and slowly but surely, fell in love with the game and started to get better and better, and came to the decision that I'm going to give this a go.
Definitely. And was boxing something you did before you even got into football? Was boxing training part of any thing you did when at any football clubs?
No, it wasn't. No, I'd never trained at a gym. I've been to the gym odd time here and now just to hit the bags and stuff like that, but I've never actually sparred with anybody or done any serious training, no.
And, I mean, you became professional. What was that like, making your professional boxing debut compared to making your professional football debut?
Well, I knew I'd made the right decision because, I remember my debut like it was yesterday, and I was so nervous, it was unbelievable, and, nerves are a sign that you're doing something that means something to you. If you're not nervous, then obviously the thing you're doing has no meaning to you. But I remember walking to the ring on my professional debut, and I was a bag of nails, my legs were like jelly, so even though I was scared and worried, I knew that the decision I made was the right one.
Yeah, definitely. And growing up, were you a fan of boxing as well? And if so, who were some of the boxers that you enjoyed watching whilst growing up?
Yeah, I was a big fan. I used to watch all the big fights and things like that with my dad, so I've always been a boxing fan. And, excuse me, yeah, and the guy that I loved back then was Mike Tyson. He was the best in the world when I was growing up. So he's a fighter that really inspired me. And I used to love watching him fight. On the domestic scene, my favourite fighter was Nigel Benn. So them two are the ones that really inspired me as a young kid.
Definitely. And it's been an amazing journey watching your boxing career, and you had wins, but there were also some losses. What were some of the toughest fights for you and the toughest moments in your boxing career?
Well, definitely the losses, because you get people around you that start to question you, start to doubt you, and they're the times that I'm only human. I doubt myself. I think, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to be good enough? So they're really tough times, but I knew, because I've not boxed any amateur fights, a lot of professionals, they learn their mistakes from the amateurs, and then when they turn professional, they've kind of ironed out their style and they know what they're doing. But I never boxed amateur, so Yeah, I realised obviously coming through, I was gonna come in some difficulties, you know. So it was nothing that I wasn't expecting, but still, it makes it real difficult to get over losses, just because a lot of people around you change and they start to kind of discard you a little bit and push you to the side. So it's difficult to see people around you doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And like I mentioned to you, I'd spoken to the likes of Kevin Mitchell, Ricky Hatton, Tyson Fury, Carl Froch, and they've all said magnificent things about yourself and the transition you've made from football to boxing. What is it like having guys like that who have reached the top of their game in their profession saying that about you, your transition from the football pitch to the boxing ring?
Yeah, I mean, it feels surreal, really, you know, to have big names like that saying kind of things about you. And when I first came into the game, the one thing I wanted more than anything, and the one thing I strived for in my early years, was acceptance from my peers, you know, the people around me that were doing the same as I was doing, just for their acceptance, because that was slow coming, you know. I had a lot of people in the game kind of disregarding me, so now to have, like you said, the names like that saying nice things about me, it means a lot, because they're the ones that are doing the same job as me, so they'll understand more than anyone that how hard my journey's been, you know. So it means a lot that I've got my peers' respect, and like I said, big names like Carl Froch, Ricky Hatton, Tyson Fury, you know, Kell Brook, you know, these are all great fighters, and you know, to have them say nice things about me is really humbling.
Definitely. And another footballer that's made the transition from the football pitch to the boxing ring is Leon McKenzie. What have you made of his transition?
Yeah, fantastic. Me and Leon played in the same football team together at Peterborough United, so I know Leon really well. And we spent a lot of time together talking about boxing when we were footballers, and we speak to each other regular now, and you know, Leon asked me questions and things like that, what I think, and you know, we give each other encouragement. So, you know, Leon's a good fighter, and he trains really hard, and you know, I'm a big fan of what he's done, because you know, I've read his autobiography as well, and it's a real inspirational story, and you know, I think he's done fantastic, and you know, who knows what the future might hold for him. I'm sure he can go on and win a few titles himself, but just to be in the position he's in now, you know, is testimony to him, because he's had a rough ride, and now he's come out the other end, and you know, I'm really proud for what he's done.
Sure. And of course, for your probably your boxing highlight, but probably a massive highlight just in your life as well, was the 22nd of February this year, beating Darren Hamilton in a fantastic fight to win the British light welterweight title. What was that night like for you, and just that moment when the announcer said the new champion? What was that moment like?
Unbelievable. I mean, for the last 8 years I've dreamt of that moment and what it was going to be like, and you run through it in your mind like, oh god, that's like this, but all the dreams and all the thoughts I had, I think I undercooked it, because I never realised it was gonna. I knew it was going to mean a lot to me, but I never realised it was going to be that good. And you know, to win it in the type of fight I won it in, people are talking about one of the best fights for the British title that they've seen in a long time, you know, and it was a great fight, toe-to-toe battle, and ebbed and flowed, and it was close, and it had the drama of a split decision. You know, it's a true movie, you know, because it had the ups and the downs, and will he, won't he, and to watch it back myself, even when I knew the result, I was nervous myself, thinking, God, they're going to give it me, and when they said split decision, my heart was in my mouth, and when they said I'm the new, it's just something that, you know, you have moments in life that you'll never ever forget. You know, the things I'll never forget, my 3 children being born, just to be there, it was like an unbelievable experience, and I was like, wow, it really, like, something that changed my life forever. And you know, February the 22nd will be exactly the same. When I heard him say I'm the new, I've tried to think ever since that day to try and sum it up with words, and I've not been able to do it justice yet, because it's so hard to explain how I felt. But it was just, like I said, all the dreams and everything, I didn't think it was going to be this good. You know, I've undercooked it. I was dreaming of fantastic things, and it's going to be this, and I can't wait. But when it actually happened, it surpassed any dream that I ever had, and it's the greatest moment of my sporting life by an absolute mile. Nothing has ever come close to that night, and nothing ever will. And that's my reason for wanting to retire, because, and even now, I know no matter what I do in the game, who I fight, what other titles I go for. Nothing will ever compare to what happened that night in Hull, because nothing will ever be like that again. So it's difficult for me to accept that, because Light's never going to be that good again. So everything now is a downward spiral. But you know, I still love to fight, so I'm not ready to give up yet.
And you did say before the fight that no matter what happens, you were going to retire, but you've just said you're not ready to give up yet. So I think it's if you defend it, is it 3 times successfully that British title, you win it outright? Is that something that you're looking to do?
Yeah, it's something that I'd like to do, but it's not a necessity for me. You know, I never dreamed of winning it outright. I just dreamed of winning it. You know, so it's not a necessity. If the right fights come up for me, and it'll have to be fights that excite me and get the juices flowing, and if that's on the domestic scene, fantastic. But if not, I'm willing to travel abroad or anywhere that I need to get the fights that, you know, that scare me and excite me. They're the ones I want. Like I said, I've ticked the box now, and I'm kind of free rolling a little bit. I've done what I wanted to do in the games. So anything now is a bonus. I just kind of want to go in there and just enjoy myself now. And you know, the first bit of my career was all about fulfilling that promise that I made to my dad. So I've done that, and now the rest of my career is going to be about me.
Yeah, definitely. And as a former professional footballer and winning this title, and that show, of course, that you won it was a Matchroom show up in Hull.
Yeah.
Matchroom have a massive fight coming up between Groves and Froch at Wembley. Do you think perhaps being on that undercard and being a former footballer, now a boxer, fighting at Wembley, would that be something that looks good to you?
Yes, I mean, to be on that bill would be fantastic. You know, everybody kind of wants to be on it. It's at Wembley. It's the biggest night probably in British boxing history. But I can confirm that I won't be on that bill. I'm going. It's my wedding anniversary, so I'm taking my wife to watch the boxing. So the romantic in me keeps shining through. But yeah, I'm not on the bill. I'll be there as a spectator.
Oh, nice. And I understand before you began your boxing career, you did put a bet on yourself that you would become the British champion. Have you cashed that in yet?
Well, that's a rumour going around, and I'm fed up with saying it now, but I can neither confirm nor deny the rumour. But the rumour is going around that I've won £255,000, so it is what it is, isn't it?
And we've mentioned yourself and Leon McKenzie going from the world of football to boxing. Are there any other footballers that you've come across that you've been in the dressing room with that you feel can make good boxers?
Well, probably a lot of them, because you know, a lot of footballers are natural athletes, and you know, to be a boxer, you've got to be a natural athlete. You've got to be fit. You've got to be strong. You've got to be focused. But it's so hard to tell. I mean, I've seen some fighters in the gym that are world class operators in the gym, and then when the bell rings and it's for real, under the lights, under the pressure, they can't perform. So it takes a special type of person to get in there and perform when it counts. So it's really difficult. But you know, there's some natural athletes in football that, you know, that I've played alongside that could probably do anything they wanted if they dedicated their lives to it. You know, they could be cricket players, tennis, basketball, because they're that naturally gifted. But to get into the boxing ring, it takes something completely different, because you're putting your body on the line, putting your life on the line. So I don't know how many of them are willing to do that, especially when you see them rolling around and diving about every 2 seconds. I don't know a lot of them will have the heart for it.
No, definitely. And like you say, when you step out onto a football pitch and you've got 10 other players around you and you're part of a team, but when you step through those ropes, there's just you and your opponent. So that's like quite a mental thing to get used to.
Yeah, definitely. The glory of winning a fight is huge. But also when you lose a fight, you know, the lows are so low, it's so difficult to explain, you know, because you haven't really got anyone else to blame. It's you that's out there. So when you win, you know, it's fantastic. You know, you're the bee's knees, and then when you get beat, you're lower than a snake's belly. So the peaks and the troughs in boxing are higher than anything I've ever experienced in football, because you lose on Saturday, normally you got another game Tuesday, and you know, you can be back on top again Tuesday. So it's real difficult boxing. Like I said, the highs are highs and the lows can be soul destroying.
No, definitely. And on the reverse of one of the previous questions, have you come across any boxers that are good at football?
I haven't seen too many, but I played a charity game with Ryan Rhodes last year in Sheffield, and he was useless. So he definitely couldn't. But I don't know. I think there's a few boxers that used to do a little bit of football when they're younger, but. No, I don't know any off the top of my head.
And finally, you've done well in football. You've done well in boxing. Are there any other hidden talents you've got? Any other sports you're good at?
No, not really. Everyone says to me, "Is there anything you can't do?" But the only two things that I can do is boxing and football. I'm useless at everything else. So you've only seen the two things that I'm decent at. You know, the rest of the stuff I'm not very good at. So unfortunately, it's one or the other for me, boxing or football. Everything else, forget about it.
Well, that's all the questions I've got for you, Curtis. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure speaking to yourself, and really enjoyed the fight on the 22nd. It was a fantastic moment in boxing, and best of luck with everything.